Hello and welcome to Ciuff Ciuff, an application which was developed to make all the money operations in 18xx games easy and fast in real time without the need to use any poker chips or paper money. To start, choose your game title. The application supports these titles at the moment. More titles will come. Then choose how you select the turn order. You can either use the game specific, which means the application follows the standard rules for the chosen title, or you can override it with dynamic pass or classic pass. More information can be found by clicking on this info button. Then add the players and then click on done. Alternatively, you can also import a previously exported game. Then on the next screen, select the seating order. You can either randomize it or you can choose it manually by clicking on every player's name and switching the position with another player. The player with the flag is the starting player and the game continues clockwise. Then click on continue. The next screen shows the rules summary for the chosen title or the rules differences to the 1830 standard rules. Then again, click on continue. Then on the next screen, if there are any variants to the chosen title, you can choose the bank size, for example. You can choose which private companies or major companies are in the game. Then again, click on continue, and then you can start with the private companies auction. In order to make a bid on a company, simply click on that company, choose the player and the bidding value. Then when you choose another company, the application follows the standard turn order, which means the next player in the turn order is shown in this screen. You can also bid on companies which already have some bids. You can select the bid value from the list here, or you can simply click on the plus button to increase your bid by the minimum value. In the bottom left-hand corner, you can see all players in the game. You can see their current cash, how much money they have locked in the bidding, and how much money they can bid and still be able to float their own company during the stock round. When you're done with the bidding, click on continue. If you started any companies and you need to set the par values, choose from the list of available par values and then click OK. And we have a new screen here. There's a market at the top. Player information is listed in the middle section and all the major companies are here in the bottom section. Let's take a look at the player's box. In each box there's a player's name, current cash. TOT stands for total value of their portfolio, meaning the sum of cash and their certificates. If you click on this icon, you can view all the certificates of that player. And this F value indicates at which maximum par value the player can float their own company. You can click on that value and you can see all the par values and the total value needed to float your own company. If the value next to the F letter is negative, like in this case, it means the player is $17 short of being able to float the company at the minimum par value, which is 67 in this case. Finally, in the top left-hand corner, you can see the player order in the next stock round. This player order changes dynamically based on the actions performed in the current stock round. In order to perform actions in the stock round, simply click on the player's box. The current operation is highlighted at the top of the screen. To buy a share of a company, simply choose the company from the list. If the company has already been started, since we are in the first stock round, you can only buy the share of that company at the initial price. If you want to buy a share of a company which has not been started yet, you can choose the par value. And if there are two or more companies with the same value, you can see their colors on the market in the same space, and their order is from left to right. In the real physical game, the tokens are ordered from top to bottom. In this application, it is from left to right. In this example, you can see three companies with the same value. Their order is going from left to right, blue, yellow, and green. Then, if the company floats, you can see the notification at the top of the screen, And the color of the company box at the bottom of the screen changes as well. The box shows the current cash of the company and also how many shares are still available in the initial offering. If more companies are floated and become operational, their operating order is shown at the bottom of the screen from left to right. Now, in order to sell a share, click on the player, click on Sell Shares. You can choose the company, you can choose the number of shares you want to sell, or you can click on these buttons to completely sell out all shares you can sell from that company. For example, Peter is the president of PRR, and although he has 5 shares, he can only sell 3 because he cannot sell the presidential certificate. So let's say we want to sell 1 share of the PRR company, click on this button, and you can see that the application automatically adjusts the value of that company by moving it 1 space down on the market. If you click on the same player again, you can see that that player already sold the PRR company shares this stock round, which means this player is not able to buy the shares of the same company. And looking at the company box, you can see that there is 1 share in the bank and 4 shares in the initial offering. Any other player willing to buy the PRR shares at the moment can choose to buy those shares either from the initial offering or from the bank. On the other hand, if all shares of a company are in players' hands, the company is sold out, which is also seen in the company box. Before we move on to the operating rounds, let's take a quick look at the information in the top bar. The bank value shows how much cash there is currently in the bank. If you click on this book icon, it gives you the rules summary of the current title. Then this middle section indicates the current round of the game. It is indicated by this pawn icon, so we are currently in the stock round. Then this small icon gives the overview of all private companies in the game. It shows the owners of those companies, their income. You can close those companies for any reason if needed. For example, Baltimore will close upon buying the first train. You can perform manual payouts. You can manually close all the companies here. And the next icon allows you to perform other manual operations involving money, shares, or private companies between the player and the bank, or the player and another player, or companies in the game. And finally, the last icon is the history of all actions taken in the application. You can filter them by type, by entity, and by clicking on these buttons, you can undo operations or redo operations. So, to move from the stock round to the operating round, simply click on the corresponding operating round. In our case, it's going to be the yellow operating round. When you do, the application will tell you that there are companies which are sold out and they will be bumped 1 space up on the market, and the private company's payout has been performed automatically. The screen has changed as well. The companies are now in the middle section and the simplified player information is in the bottom section. The simplified player information shows the current value of the player's portfolio, their current cash, and the delta is how much the player made during this operating round. So, the operating order is from left to right again. In order to make any operations with the company, click on that company box. You can buy private companies, you can buy trains, tiles and tokens, you can operate with that company. In order to buy some tiles or tokens, click on this icon and simply enter the value of all the tiles and tokens you bought. Here you can see the current cash, which is in the treasury of that company, and you can either type the value manually, or you can simply choose one of these predefined values which correspond to the price of the company station tokens. So let's buy 1 token, click on Done in order to confirm that transaction. If you want to buy a train, simply choose Buy Train. Again, you can choose one of the predefined values or enter the value manually. If you click twice on the same field, you can buy 2 trains. The application will automatically add the values together, and when you buy trains, you can either buy them from bank or from another company. If you buy trains from another company, the money will be transferred to that company instead of to the bank. So let's buy the trains from the bank. Again, click on Done. And since we are in the first operating round, the companies don't operate, you can either simply move on to the next company and make operations and transactions with the next company, or you can drag and drop the value of the company on the market, simply move it to the left, and it will add a tick to the company box indicating that the company has already operated this round. Then simply move on to the next company in the operating order. And if the company is able to operate, and let me show it here just for the sake of explanation, click on the company box, click on Operate. You can see where the shares are distributed, how many shares are in the bank, how many shares are owned by players, how many shares are in the initial offering. You can manually enter the value of the train run, let's make it 120, and you can either choose to withhold that money or pay out. If you pay out, the application automatically shows you how much money each player will earn. You don't have to perform any calculations yourself, the application calculates everything automatically. The profit is how much money the player earns, the payout is how much money the player will have after that profit. So let's stick with payout, click Done, and again, the application automatically moves the value of the company one space to the right on the market. You can also see the last payout of that company in the bottom right corner of the company box. Then at the end of the operating round, simply move to the next operating round, or in our case to the stock round. I forgot to move the C&O company value to the left, and there is no tick in that company here as well. If you move to the stock round, the application will notice that. It will notify you and you can automatically have its share value moved to the left. Again, if you look at the bottom of the screen, the operating order of the company has changed based on their new values. Now, in the new stock round, you can see the par values of the companies here and their latest payout. And if you ask why there is an 82 number next to this F letter, then this is the par value at which you can float your new company if you sell all the shares in your portfolio, which are obviously not presidential shares. If you look at Tom's portfolio, he can sell 1 B&O share, 4 shares of C&O, and with that, he would be able to float a new company at par value of 82. There's even a dedicated screen for that. If you click on this value, a new screen pops up where you can sell shares from multiple companies. You can see your projected total cash after the sale. You can compare it with all the par values, and if you're happy with your selection, you can sell your shares right from this screen. You can even see the market value of those companies dropped down. Now, Tom has enough cash to float another company at the par value of 82. To sell your private company to a major company, click on the player, Sell Private, choose your private company here, choose the major company, which is going to buy the private company, manually enter the selling price, let's make it 80, and simply click on Done. There's one more thing I want to show you. If you want to buy the train and the company would not have enough money and you have to perform the emergency sell, it works like this. If you need to buy the train, let's say we need to buy a train for 1,000 and the company doesn't have enough cash. There's a new button shown here, Emergency, and the player who is currently the president of the company, that player will have to pay the price of that train, click on Done, and if you look at the player information here, the player has negative money, which means the player needs to raise funds to buy this train. Click on that player, and this is the emergency sale screen. You can choose which shares to sell from this screen in order to bring your funds back to the positive number. As you can see, the application also automatically recognizes that you bought a train of a high value, which means the private companies should close. This happens later in the game when you reach that particular phase of the game. And that's it, that's all you need to know to use this app with your 18xx games. If you have any questions or comments or suggestions, you can contact the developers from this menu. You can also export the game and load it later when you come back to the game. You can end the game here and start a new one. And with that, I hope you will enjoy the application as much as I do when I play my 18xx games from my collection. Thank you very much for watching and enjoy your games with the Ciuff Ciuff application.